Very good evening from rainy Helsinki. My name is Sauli Vilén. I'm the business lead of our equity research segment at Inderes. I also cover financial sector companies as an analyst, and I have spent my whole working career in Inderes, which is close to 15 years now. Today, it's my pleasure to give you a quick glance about Helsinki Stock Exchange, how our market actually looks. Before we jump on the topic, I just want to remind you, if you are not familiar with Inderes, Inderes is the leading equity research house in Finland. We are by far the biggest equity research house in Finland by measuring a number of analysts or number of companies. We actually cover almost all of the companies in Helsinki. If you count out the market cap, which we cover, we actually cover roughly 95% of total market cap of Helsinki Stock Exchange. So yes, we cover basically every company here and we want to be your gateway to look for opportunities in Helsinki. So on the topic, Helsinki Stock Exchange. On the right side, you can see fairly recent article from our leading news media, Helsingin Sanomat. The topic freely translates that is Helsinki Stock Exchange worth investing anymore? And with a kind of dramatic picture there, you know, the stock exchange sinking in the sea. And I think this sums up quite nicely the atmosphere what we have witnessed in Helsinki Stock Exchange during the past year or two or so, since we have had kind of brutal bear market. Even though we have witnessed a magnificent recovery in both sides of the Atlantic, for example, in the SP 500 or Nasdaq. Nasdaq is, I think it's up almost 40%. DAX in Germany is at the all-time high. Well, in Helsinki, we are not at the all-time high, far from it actually. Actually, as recently as this October, we were actually the second worst exchange when comparing to year-to-date returns. The only exchange index below us was actually Nairobi. And to be honest, I actually didn't know that Nairobi actually has a stock exchange before I saw this list. So that basically gives you the picture how well Helsinki has performed. Yes, with the recent rally or recovery, you could say we are close getting out of the bottom 10, but still, you cannot talk any major recovery in Helsinki. So yes, overall we have had tough time, you could say. When you look at the Helsinki 25 index, which is our major index, you can see that the inflation-adjusted return has been give or take minus 20%, and we are fairly far from all-time high comparing to DAX or Nasdaq or SP 500. But actually, where the real bear market has happened has been our small cap space. Our small cap space has imploded during the past 2 years. Our small cap index is down roughly 40% from the top of 21. Yes, we had a bubble 2 years ago. It's kind of obvious on the graph also, but yes, we had a bubble and some of that drastic decline can be explained by that. But basically what has happened, we have in a small cap space, we have returned to the levels where we were before the corona crisis, which is close to five years ago. So in the small cap space, the bear market has been really brutal in that sense. Well, despite all of this, that the Helsinki Stock Exchange has had a very gloomy 24-month period or so. If you look at the long-term returns, Helsinki has been actually a fantastic place to invest over a really long period. Helsinki has actually offered excellent returns, and actually the returns which Helsinki has been offering over the long term fall shy to only a handful of other notable indexes in the world. So in that sense, actually, Helsinki has been excellent place to invest in the long run, even though it doesn't feel like it at the moment due to the bear market of the past 2 years. But yeah, that's kind of sums up the situation or the mood at the Helsinki Stock Exchange at the moment. But let's look under the hood, what the Helsinki Stock Exchange actually is all about. In this beautiful picture, you can actually see our stock exchange building in Helsinki. And when you look at the numbers, in Finland, we have roughly 180 companies listed. Comparing to other Nordics, we are fairly small. We are roughly at the same figures as Denmark. Denmark, when you count listed companies, in Norway, the amount is roughly double what we have in Finland, and obviously, well, Sweden is in a totally different field with their close to 1,000 companies listed when you count all the exchanges on there. So yeah, so basically, and also when you look at the figures, we are fairly small. Index also on that. Our market cap at the moment is roughly 250 billion euros. If you want to compare that, that's 1/10 of an Apple's market cap at the moment. It's half of the Novo Nordisk market cap, which is by far the biggest company in the Nordic at the moment, or it's roughly the same as Elon Musk net worth at the moment. So that's the ballpark what in our market cap. The net income at the moment is around 20 billion in Helsinki. And if you look at the graph on the right side of the screen, you can actually see that on the earnings-wise, our exchange is really concentrated. Nordea, which is the big leading Nordic bank, accounts roughly 1/4 of the whole earnings of our index. Then, if you add on the other giants of Helsinki, so Neste, Kone, Nokia, Sampo, and Fortum, you can see that the top 6 companies actually account roughly 2/3 of the whole profit or net income of the whole stock exchange. So in that sense, we are fairly concentrated market. Same story obviously continues on this slide. If you expand outside the top 6 companies to the top 25, which are included in OMX H25 index, you can see that actually 25 companies in Helsinki account more than 90% of our market cap. So basically the 25 companies accounts the whole market cap, and the rest 150 plus companies actually account roughly 10% of the whole market cap. When you look at the big companies, you can see that we have a couple of clear sectors there. We have the finance sector, where we obviously have Nordea and Sampo, both leading players in their field. Sampo is also presenting here tonight. Then we have a forestry sector, where we have 3 large cap companies, and also we have a ton of smaller forestry industry related companies in the stock exchange listed in the small and mid cap space, since forestry industry is one of the backbones of the Finnish economy overall. Then we also have a really wide and high quality machinery sector, where we have companies like Kone, Metso, Wärtsilä, Valmet, to mention a few. We have several large cap in those, and then we have also a ton of companies also in that space on small and mid caps. Obviously, if your index is so concentrated as ours, it's very obvious that the focus on the media and investors mainly goes to the top 25 companies. If you look at how many analysts are covering the top 25 companies on average, the number is roughly 15. So kind of vast coverage there. If you go to the rest, give or take 150 companies, the average number of analysts covering is 2, which usually Inderes is another one, since basically we cover every company here. But the point what I'm trying to make here is that we have a ton of interesting opportunities outside the 25 companies. And even though the top 25 are also really interesting companies, and so obviously it's much more likely to find clear undervaluations when you look at the small cap space. And if we zoom in on the smaller, on the 10% part of our market cap, which includes the 150 companies which I mentioned, we can see that we actually have a lot of interesting sectors there where we have a really high amount of companies available. I have highlighted here a couple of interesting sectors. One, the sector I actually happens to cover, where actually two companies are presenting here tonight, United Bankers and Capman, is the asset management sector. In Finland, we are in kind of a unique position that in asset management field, where companies are usually private companies, all of the major players in the Finnish asset management market are listed in Helsinki. And the quality of this company is actually really high, all in all. And if you look at the returns, what this basket has offered during the past decade, they have offered excellent returns due to the, well, high quality companies and really strong fundamentals on the sector behind. Then on the IT service sector is also another really interesting sector. We have really wide coverage on that, wide amount of companies available in that sector, and that's also fairly rare to have a majority of the relevant players on the field listed. Even though the sector has had some major challenges during the past year or so, if you zoom out and look at over the long term, the sector has actually offered really decent returns due to the strong growth fundamentals they have. Then the technology sector, the sector where you most likely can find the next superstars. We have wide a number of technology companies in Helsinki, and if you go back and look which companies have been the superstars in the past, they basically are all on the technology space. You can see like companies on recent superstar is obviously the Kempower here. If you go a little bit further, you can see there is a QT, Revenio, Talenom, Remedy, etc. So that this is the space where you have a best shot of finding the future superstars. Then finally, we also have a really interesting and high quality retail/consumer sector where I have mentioned a couple of companies there. I won't go these companies more thoroughly here. I just want to point out that we at Inderes cover all of these plus over 100 other companies. So feel free to log in our service and you can find the research webcast and a lot more information about these companies over there. And why am I talking about small caps? Just want to remind investors that obviously this small cap space is the place where you have the best opportunity to find the next multi-baggers. Even though the large caps, how fantastic companies they are, the point is that it's fairly rare that large cap company can even multiply its size due to the fact that there is limitations on the market shares, etc. So that's why it's also definitely worth to keep an eye out on the small cap space. Then back to the Helsinki. The silver lining of this fairly brutal bear market is that the valuations have come down significantly, and Helsinki Stock Exchange looks fairly cheap. If you look at the average earnings-based valuation, we are below the long-term average, which is not a bad place to start. If you look at the the price to book ratio, which I find really useful when looking at the overall valuation of the whole Helsinki. You can see that actually around these levels you have usually made fairly, at these levels has usually been really good place actually to make a market entry in Helsinki. Usually the clearly lower price to book levels have been around major crises like financial crisis or euro crisis, etc. So in that sense, the valuation wise, I mean the bear market, well, it has taken its toll, but as I said, this is the silver lining. The valuation in Helsinki is not too shabby at all. Finally, about the opportunities what Helsinki Stock Exchange has to offer. The headline is that there is a lot of opportunities due to the aftermath of the bear market. It can be fairly even dangerous to only look at the multiples, then they can really badly mislead you. But I just want to highlight the couple of facts here about the multiples of the Helsinki Stock Exchange. So around 40 companies offer dividend yield of 5% or more. That's roughly 1/4 of all of our companies. Over 20 companies are trading below P10. Looking next year, yes, does the E-component hold there? That remains to be seen. That the point is that there is stuff really lowly valued. Then over 40 companies are trading below book value. Yes, most of them probably should trade under book value, but then again, that's roughly 1/4 of our whole stock exchange trading below book value. So there is again a lot of interesting opportunities available to look in Helsinki Stock Exchange. And as I said, we at Inderes cover basically all of the companies in Helsinki. From market cap wise, we cover over 95% of the whole market cap. So you can find the research and other materials about these companies from our service. So I started my presentation by the Helsingin Sanomat article, and the article said that is Helsinki Stock Exchange worth to invest anymore? And well, yes, it definitely is. I actually really believe that now is an excellent time to invest in Helsinki Stock Exchange. That was all for me. Now I hand over the mic for our first speaker, Capman and Pia Cole. Welcome, Pia.